Representative Tinderholt out of Arlington, Texas, and we're here today to talk about Republican policy and priorities. We have a few of our members that are in committee, and we're sorry that they're missing this event today. Today is day 107 of our 140-day legislative session. In 12 days, every House bill that is going to pass must be reported by its committee. On Thursday, May 15th, we will have the bill deadline in the Texas House, after which any House bill that hasn't passed is dead. The clock is ticking, and our Republican voters are looking to the Republican majority they elected to the Texas House to deliver. Donald Trump is doing his job. Governor Abbott is doing his, and the Senate is doing their job. The Texas Senate has been amazing session after session, as well as Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Right here and up here, I welcome you to take a list. It's a list of 79 good Republican bills that passed the Texas Senate. We have many House bills we're trying to pass here in the final window of House bills. This list is one example of policies we are fighting to pass in the final weeks of this session. In February, I penned an op-ed that I'd like to quote from because it's still true today. Burrows is in a position where he has an opportunity to deliver and silence his critics. President Donald Trump became the Republican nominee in 2016, and a lot of Republicans had doubts about his ability to win and govern. He proved all of them wrong by winning and compiling a more conservative record than any Republican president in over 100 years. Speaker Burrows can do the same if he's willing to prioritize conservative legislation. I'm not talking about passing only Governor Abbott's priority legislation and a handful of single bills on cultural topics to give those Republicans currently loyal to Burrows enough red meat to try and survive a primary challenge. I'm talking about allowing the Republican majority to actually advance and vote on Republican bills and significantly outpace past sessions. The Republican majority in the House is ready to work and pass these bills in each of the Texas GOP legislative priorities. Speaker Burrows and his leadership team will have to decide if we get to vote on those bills. We're having daily conversations with leadership and know they do want to advance some Republican priorities and policy, but we always expect more. I'd like to invite my friend, Representative Mike Olcott, forward to talk about the status of immigration legislation.
Thank you, Representative Tinderholt. Not only is immigration and the border security my number one issue, it's the number one top priority of overwhelmingly the majority of the voters in Texas. And reflecting that is the fact that in the Republican Party of Texas, their number one legislative priority is border security and enforcing immigration. So far this session, the major push to address illegal immigration centers around four policies: E-Verify, banning in-state tuition for illegal aliens, requiring local law enforcement to work with the Trump administration to identify, round up, and deport criminal illegal aliens through the 287G program. And fourth, to address the Colony Ridge situation here in Texas, which is an embarrassment to Texas. I want to give Texans an update on what that legislation is, where we are in that process. Number one, E-Verify. I'll start with requiring E-Verify for all employers. The best bill on this issue is Senate Bill 324 by State Senator Louis Kolkhorst. I filed an identical bill, House Bill 3210 in the Texas House. The Senate Bill 324 was approved on second reading just yesterday, and we anticipate it will pass over to the House this week. So far in the Texas House, the only legislation that has been heard in committee on E-Verify is House Bill 323 by Representative David Spiller, which only requires E-Verify for new local government employees, which is noble, but does not come close to turning off the employment magnet driving illegal immigration into this state. 2 weeks ago, my colleague Nate Schatzline, who you're going to hear from shortly, showed by a record vote on the floor of the House that the people of Texas, it showed the people of Texas that E-Verify, if it comes to the floor, it will pass. Mm-hmm. We believe that Representative Spiller is working in good faith, but State Affairs Chairman Ken King has refused to hear E-Verify legislation such as Tepper's House Bill 1308. We are calling on Speaker Dustin Burrows to work to prioritize and pass E-Verify legislation. If it dies this session, it will be because he or another member of leadership killed this bill. The second issue, banning in-state tuition for illegal aliens. 7 bills have been filed in the Texas House to address that, including my bill, House Bill 1324. They've been filed to end the practice of granting in-state tuition for illegal aliens. But the only one that is moving is Senate Bill 1798 by State Senators Mays Middleton. That bill will likely pass out of committee soon, and I hope it will pass the Texas Senate shortly thereafter. In the House, the committee substitute that was introduced on this issue unfortunately contains loopholes that will ensure that illegal aliens continue receiving tuition discounts even after the ban passes. We will be fighting to strengthen this bill back to an actual ban and to get it to the floor for a vote. Number 3, requiring the local law enforcement to participate in the 287G program. I also mentioned that requiring local law enforcement to work with the Trump administration to identify and remove criminal illegal aliens. Essentially, that means requiring our county sheriffs to participate in the 287G program. State Senator Charles Schwertner's Senate Bill 8 does that, and I want to thank him for his work to pass that bill out of the Texas Senate on March 19th. However, Speaker Burrows waited over 2 weeks to refer that bill to the House Subcommittee on County and Regional Government, and although Chairman David Spiller has held a hearing on that companion bill, House Bill 5580, both bills were just voted out of committee this week and need to be immediately placed on the calendar if we have any chance of passing that bill. Finally, Colony Ridge. Representative Janice Holt, one of my freshman colleagues, has filed House Bill 2519, which would help address the stain on Texas that's Colony Ridge. That bill was referred to Trade, Workforce, and Economic Development, but has not received a hearing. If it is not moved quickly, it will be killed by either Chairman Button or by House leadership. And to close, the Republican Party of Texas, and more importantly, our voters, have made it very clear they want us to pass legislation to help shut off the magnets that are bringing illegal aliens into Texas and to pass strong border security legislation. But so far, the Texas House is refusing to deliver. We have a short window left to do the work. We campaigned on this. Most of us campaign. We know it's the number one issue, and we need to get these bills past the finish line. I hope Speaker Burrows, Chairman King, Chairman Wilson, and Chairman Button will work with House Republicans and give our voters the victories they deserve. Next, I'd like to introduce my friend Shelley Luther, who's going to talk about medical liberty legislation.
Thank you. Good morning. My political advocacy began when I was jailed for standing up against government tyranny during the COVID pandemic. Texans stood with me and sent me to Austin to defend their liberties. We need to start holding Big Pharma accountable. A bill I authored, HB 3441, would help families circumvent the federal law that shields vaccine manufacturers from legal liability by saying that if these companies advertise their products in the Lone Star State, they must assume responsibility for vaccine injuries. I was excited that this bill received a hearing relatively early in the session, but it actually has almost 80 co-authors on it, representing both political parties. HB 3441 has the votes to get out of committee, but it has been sitting in the committee for nearly a month. If we're going to have any hope of holding Big Pharma accountable for the harm inflicted on innocent Texans, HB 3441 needs to get out of committee and onto the House floor immediately. I was told by Chairman Leach that this bill will be voted out today. If that happens, it would be a great step toward giving Texans a major victory this session. Another important bill, SB 269 by Senator Charles Perry, would require physicians to report any and all vaccine injuries, no matter how minor, to the Federal Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System, also known as VAERS. This is the simplest way to educate the public and our public health agencies about the risks and side effects of vaccinations. But most healthcare providers do not utilize this system. HB 269 passed the Senate unanimously. It has finally been set for a hearing in public health. I hope the Texas House moves swiftly on this legislation. We are also needing to protect healthcare workers and medical students. The Senate has taken swift action to protect college students whose dream is to work in medical or veterinary care, as well as staff and contractors who perform work in hospitals and clinics. SB 407 has already been voted out of the Senate, and SB 2119 will soon pass out of that chamber. Each of these bills has a House companion, both which were referred to the Public Health Committee several weeks ago. And because there are already House bills, there's a strong chance that these bills can pass in both chambers and be on the governor's desk soon. But Chairman Gary Van Dever seems unwilling to act fast enough to make these protections for our frontline heroes a reality. We are also trying to prohibit discrimination in medical care. Multiple bills have been filed this session to protect vulnerable Texans from being denied medical care based solely on their vaccination status. The broadcast protections have been proposed by Representative Nate Schatzline with HB 1356, which would prohibit any healthcare provider from withholding any services from routine visits to life-saving care due to a patient exercising their vaccine choice rights. HB 4076, which is limited only to organ transplant patients, has received a hearing, but its impact would be far too narrow to be felt by most Texans. Informed consent. One of the fundamental tenets of medical care is informed consent, the understanding that patients have a basic human right to weigh the risks and benefits of any procedure medically, and to make medical decisions free of coercion or undue influence. SB 95 by Senator Bob Hall passed the Senate nearly a month ago and has been referred to the Public Health Committee, but has gone nowhere since. This bill would require physicians to provide full, written, informed consent to parents and guardians before administering any childhood vaccination. Shockingly, this is not already required in Texas statute and allows physicians to skip a crucial step in the provision of medical care. In closing, the state of Texas has long recognized that vaccine choice, medical privacy, and informed consent are basic rights worthy of protection, and Texans deserve to live in the freest state in the nation. But to achieve that, we need to close multiple loopholes in the state law that require nurses to get a jab or lose their job. It puts patients' lives at risk due to their personal vaccine decisions. I'd also like to introduce State Representative Steve Toth.
Thank you, Shelley. Scott, thanks for the cough drop. In the 87th session, the legislature passed a record amount of red meat legislation: constitutional carry, the heartbeat bill, the trigger life bill, religious freedom that kept the government from closing down our churches, and as well as my bill on critical race theory and banning boys and girls sports. But we failed to pass one really key piece of legislation, and that was the legislation carried by Representative Krause and myself that banned the gender mutilation of our children. In light of that one bill's failure to pass, Texans were not in a forgiving mood after the 87th session. It was always the priority to not only pass this bill, but to pass a bill banning the social transition of children. In the 88th session, we finally banned the gender mutilation of kids, but again, we failed to pass legislation that protected children from social transitioning. The good news is that we now have a great bill, House Bill 2258, to protect these kids. Even better news is that the courts can't stop it. But even better news, it's on its way to the governor's desk. The bad news is it's not the governor of Texas, it's the governor of Arkansas. It's our bill, it's our legislation. crafted right here in Texas by Texans, but it's stuck in Ken King's Committee on State Affairs. And initially he told us, great bill, love the bill. We have 3 joint authors from State Affairs, but Chairman King won't give it a hearing. Texans will not forgive our massive Republican majority if we fail to protect children from groomers. In my own school district, I've had multiple parents come to me at Conroe Independent School District. We have had 3 teachers that have quit. We keep hearing there's a teacher shortage. Got to protect our teachers. We've had 3 teachers quit because they were told, you cannot tell mom and dad that their child comes to school under the name of Mark and wants to be called Amy. They left. We've got to protect these kids. We've got to pass this legislation, House Bill 2258. Now I want to introduce you to Representative Nate Chasline.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to try and be as brief as possible, but I want to hit one of the, not just Texas GOP priorities, but really what should be a priority for all of Texas, and that is protecting Texas kids. Look, one of the most basic principles that we have in Texas is our responsibility as legislators to protect safety and innocence, as well as the well-being of our children. Right now, parents across the state are counting on us to do more than just pass legislation, but to take a stand against harmful ideologies, harmful graphic materials, and a culture that seemed hell-bent on sexualizing our children. So let me be clear. We have the bills. It is time. It's past time. But it's time right now for House leadership to act. So let's go over what must pass this session for us to consider this a win for Texas kids. And I want to be clear, this is the bare minimum. This is what we expect must pass. SB 12 is a strong parental rights bill. It would prohibit discussions of sex and gender ideology in the classroom and reinstate the requirements for parents to opt their children into sex education. Look, this is passed the Senate, and right now it's in public education. We need that to be voted out. SB 13, authored by Senator Angela Paxton, would remove sexually explicit books from our school libraries. It received bipartisan support in the Senate, but it hasn't been touched in the House. Representative Hillary Hickling has a bill to make sure that sex toys are kept off of grocery store shelves where they're in line sight of children. Like this is basic. These are not extreme measures. These are common sense just to ensure we're protecting the innocence of our kids. Last session, we tried to ban drag shows targeted at children in public libraries. Activist judges blocked that bill, but we have SB 18 from Senator Brian Hughes to pick up where we left off. It is time to pass it. And maybe most urgently, we have 2 bills that Representative Toth referenced one of them to ban the social transitioning of kids. House Bill 2258, Representative Toth did a fantastic job talking about his bill that essentially would ban the transitioning of our children, the social transitioning of our children. Ken King has not given it a hearing. We are calling on you to reach out to Chairman King and demand that we do the right thing to protect our kids. HB 1655 would ban social transitioning in public education, meaning that the teachers at schools, the counselors cannot work against you as parents and codifying mental illness inside of our child's lives, but they would not be able to socially transition our children. That's HB 1655 in public education. We need that hearing. Then we have SB 19, which goes hand in hand and bans taxpayer-funded lobbying. Look, many Texans don't know that currently we have taxpayer-funded lobbyists working directly against the taxpayer using the tax dollars of that taxpayer. We see this in different organizations such as TASB, where they're telling teachers that socially transitioning kids is okay, where they're telling counselors you don't need to tell the parent that Johnny wants to be called Sarah. You don't need to bring them in. In fact, we're asking that you don't. And we're tired of this going on over and over with our tax dollars to do it. And finally, Senate Bill 240 by Senator Mays Middleton would protect women's privacy by keeping biological males out of women's spaces. Right now, we have a House companion by Rep. Valerie Swanson's bill. It has more than 80 co-authors. 80 co-authors. And once again, Chairman King has said he will not let it come to a vote. We need you to reach out to him and demand that we protect our ladies. So let's be honest with ourselves. These bills represent the bare minimum that we should be doing to protect Texas kids. So my message for leadership is the time is now. We are running out of time. Speaker Burrows, Chairman Buckley, Chairman King, you still have a chance to get this right, and I hope that you do. You still have time to make this session count for Texas families and for protecting the innocence of our children. Let's do what we were sent here to do. Let's finish strong. Let's protect Texas children. Next, I'll bring up my friend, Patriot, Representative Andy Hopper.
So far this session, 83 bills have been identified by the Texas GOP as helping to safeguard the integrity of our elections. Like on other issues, the Texas Senate has led the way. They've passed SB 16, which requires individuals to submit proof of citizenship in order to vote. They've passed SB 396, which encourages a list and maintenance of the integrity of our voter rolls, and they've passed SB 1470, which requires DPS to provide data to ensure those voter rolls are kept safe. But so far in the Texas House, we haven't passed a single election integrity bill. Each of the Senate bills I mentioned are stuck in the House Calendars Committee. Even more conservative election integrity legislation is stuck in the House Elections Committee. Of these bills is HB 209 by State Representative Mike Schofield, which separates our elections from federal elections, preventing them from being tampered by Democrats in Congress. That bill was referred by the House Committee on State Affairs in February, but is yet to come and even receive a hearing in the House. Another bill is Mike Schofield's bill, which is HB 951, which recognizes the reality that the Texas Republican Party voted to close its primaries such that Democrats can't vote in the Republican primary elections. This issue received support from a supermajority of our Republican voters as Proposition 9 in the last primary, and even has the support of President Donald Trump. When closed primary legislation was being considered in Wyoming, President Trump said this is a critically important bill that ensures that voters in each party will separately choose their nominees for the general election, which is how it should be, and yet it makes total sense that Democrats vote in the Democrat primary and only Republicans should vote in the Republican primary. But perhaps the most important bill we can pass this session on election integrity is SB 1026 by Senator Brian Hughes, which reestablishes the right and duty of the Texas Attorney General to prosecute voter fraud. This bill is critical to ensuring that George Soros can't rig our elections in Texas by having these liberal district attorneys basically adjudicate election fraud in their counties. They have no interest in doing that. We need the Texas House, specifically Dustin Burrows, Chairman King, and Chairman Shaheen, to make election integrity a priority this session and get these bills to the floor where we can approve them. Next, I'd like to introduce Representative Kane, who's going to talk about our inalienable rights to bear arms.
You know, when Texans went to the polls, they elected Republicans from top to bottom, and our majority grew in both chambers. Unfortunately, we've yet to pass some strong Second Amendment rights legislation. There's still time left, so here's where we are right now. Senate Bill 1362 by Senator Hughes would ban the red flag gun confiscation laws and protect constitutional rights of due process. That passed the Senate in March, but it's stuck in the House Criminal Jurisprudence Committee without a hearing. The House version of that bill, House Bill 162, has been stuck in State Affairs since February without a hearing. Senate Bill 1596 by Senator Hagenbuth, which removes short barrel firearms from state prohibited weapons, that passed the Senate on April 16th and was recently referred to the House Homeland Security Committee in the House. The House companion, House Bill 259 by Representative Hayes, it had a hearing on April 14th. Both bills are stuck in committee, but again, the Senate has done its job. House Bill 1715, which would end gun-free zones on taxpayer-owned property, which referred to House State Affairs over a month ago, but it's been languishing without a hearing. We need this bill to close a loophole in the law that allows private entities and nonprofits to ban firearms at events that take place on government property, like the State Fair of Texas or the rodeo. Gun-free zones don't protect criminals, not law-abiding citizens. House Bill 17170 by Guillen expands civil immunity protections for unjustified use of force in cases such as that of Kyle Rittenhouse or Cal Caroth. This important bill was passed by the House Civil Jurisprudence Committee 10-1 on March 26. It's now been calendars for over a month. A similar bill, House Bill 644, provides civil immunity for business owners who allow firearms to be carried on their premises. That was also voted out of the Civil Jurisprudence Committee on March 26th. That bill is still being held up in calendars. Look, every Republican member campaigned on passing legislation to protect the right and keep and bear arms. There's still time left to keep that commitment. but it requires decisive action. And so now, I'd like to ask Representative Tony Tinderholt to come back up.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. In closing, thank you to my colleagues for their courage, their clarity, and their commitment to fighting for the people of Texas. I'll summarize this morning very briefly. Texas House Republicans are ready to lead, to govern boldly, and to deliver on the campaign promises we made to our voters. There's still time for the Texas House Republicans to have a great session, but the window's closing, and it's closing fast. We are now in day 107 of a 140-day session, and with just days left before the House bill deadline, time is indeed running out. The Senate started work early, and they've gotten a lot done. They've passed over double the bills that the Texas House has passed. As of last night, it was 725 to 361. It's time for the Texas House to catch up. Every second we waste is another opportunity lost to secure the border, protect children from abuse, defend rights and liberties of Texans, ban taxpayer-funded lobbying, and restore integrity to our elections. It's time for every member of the Republican caucus to stand up, to speak out, and finish this session strong. The voters expect it. Thank you. God bless you. May God bless Texas, and may God bless our great nation. We've got to get to the floor. If you have questions, I would encourage you to talk to individual members. Thank you.